Hello, Keith Rucker at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, I got a little project we're going to be working on today, doing some restoration work to an old antique cane mill. So for those of you that are not familiar with what a cane mill is an old piece of farm equipment that was really common down here in the South that basically would crush sugar cane and get the juice out of sugar cane. And it was used for making cane syrup, or you could even refine it further and actually make sugar from that. So almost every little farm around the South probably had a cane mill back at one time, and then they would use this, of course, to make sugar that they could use on the farm, whether it be for cooking or whatever. And usually they would actually make a syrup instead of actually refining it all the way down to sugar, although you could. Down in the more southern parts of the South, they grew sugar cane, and then up in the little bit northern, like North Georgia, up in Tennessee, North Alabama, they tend to grow sweet sorghum, and they would do the same thing. They would crush that cane and actually get the juice and then boil it down into a syrup. So what I'm working on here is a cane mill, and these were very common. Like I said, this is a 3-roller cane mill. This one was made by Goldens Foundry out of Columbus, Georgia, and I'm going to kind of zoom you in here and show you a little bit about it, how it works, and then talk about what we're going to be doing to it. What I've got here is a catalog that's been scanned, is up on my website over at VintageMachinery.org that people can go and look at. But I've got a couple of pages out of this. I thought I'd show this to you. Kind of really shows what's going on. This is the actual cane mill right here. This would mount on top of something. They would usually build a little wooden frame for it or whatever. And coming out of the top here, you got this little piece. This is the power takeoff, I guess you could call it. And what you would do is you attach a long pole to that, and basically a mule would just walk around in a circle. And when he did, that would be what powers this cane mill. So it's turning at very slow RPMs, probably a 1 RPM, 1 rotation per minute or so, because that's about how long it's going to take that mule to walk that circle, and that's going to turn the drums inside. I've actually got some footage that I took out of our museum grinding cane back in a couple months ago. I don't think it's the exact same cane mill as this, but you can kind of get an idea of what goes on there. They basically feed the cane into the side of the mill. It goes between those rollers, crushes the cane, the juice comes out, and down here at the bottom there's a little spout, and they would collect the juice and then go put it in a big kettle and boil it down into a syrup. So anyway, this is the cane mill here, and to kind of show you how the insides, this is a shot here kind of showing the guts of one. You can see it kind of taken apart. Here you see the cane kind of going in the side, and it would basically just come in and it would feed between the 3 rollers in here, and as that did, of course, it would just crush the cane and the juice would come out the bottom. So this is a 3-roller cane mill. They made 2-roller cane mills as well. The 3-roller mills tend to work a little bit better because you would feed the cane in, and it would go between one of the small wheels and the big wheel, and you could adjust these different rollers at different widths. So, it would basically crush the cane in this first one, and then it would go through the second one, and the second one would be a little bit closer to the big wheel, so it would kind of get a second squeezings, I guess you could say, out of there to try to get every last little bit out. So what we're going to be working on with this, I've got these 2 wheel rollers right here, and what's going on is the Babbitt bearings in them are worn out. In fact, they're completely gone, so we're going to be pouring new Babbitt bearings, but there's some things that we need to do, and the Babbitt bearings on this are a little bit unique. So in the bottom down here, it basically sits down into a cup that has a bearing, but it only has a bearing on one side, and then at the top there's a pad that kind of has the same thing. There's a little parts breakdown of all the different parts on there. Of course, you see the 2 rollers. Here's the 2 bottom caps, and these are the little bearing pieces up here that we're going to be working with. So I'll kind of show you over here on the actual piece now so you can kind of see what we're going to be doing. This is one of the 2 rollers that we're going to be working on. I actually got the other one already set up over in the lathe, but I wanted to kind of show you what we got going here. And again, you got the roller. The other one is actually serrated. You'll see that when we get over there. There's 2 bearings, one on the top and bottom. The top bearing, this is just basically a bearing half. And again, there's only half a bearing on this because of the way this is with the canes pushing up against it. Really, it only has a bearing on the back half of it, which is a little bit different. This is not like a precision machine or something like that, or where you would have, you know, a complete bearing all the way around. So it's only got a bearing kind of on half of it, and there's a screw here that you can adjust to push on it. And you got to remember that when you feed the cane in here, all the pressure is going to that back side. So there's really no reason to have a bearing half on the other half, because it wouldn't be pushing on it and it would just wear the bearings oblong. So the way they went around that is they just did a half a bearing. So this one is the top one. The one in the bottom is a little bit different. It fits down inside of this little cap right here, and that captures it so that it can't come out. But again, you're only actually putting Babbitt on half of that area down there, and this one fits down in here. And again, there's a set screw here that you can adjust that to get your tension just right. Pouring the Babbitt on this is going to be a little bit different than normal, because we're only doing half pours. And also in this case, particularly on the bottom one, there's not really a way for me to pour it on the shaft, so I'm going to actually have to make a pouring mandrel to turn or to pour it on, and I'm probably just going to use the mandrel to pour all the bearings. Now, before we do that though, I want to clean these journals up. They are obviously, they've been worn. They were originally, what were they? 2 7/16 was the original diameter on these, and they've all worn down. They're all a little bit different sizes, but all of them, when I checked them, I've got where I can take it down basically to 2 3/8, which is just a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the original. It's not really taking a whole lot of metal off of there. In fact, they're worn down almost to that amount now. So I'm just going to basically clean these all up and get all of them to the same diameter, and that way when I make a mandrel to pour on, I can use the same diameter on all of them. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to take this over to the lathe first, and we're going to get both of these trued up. I will note that there was already centers in these on both sides, which is nice. It's going to help me on the lathe. They were a little bit dirty, but they were in very good shape. I kind of cleaned all the gunk out of them, and I just took a center drill on a cordless drill and just kind of went there and just kind of freshened them up, just to make sure that they're good. And I've already got one of them set up over in the lathe, and it looks like that's going to work out just fine. So let's go over here to the lathe now and look at our setup, and we'll go ahead and start getting these turned. So here's the other roller set up over here on the lathe, and I apologize, I went ahead and did this. I had some stuff going on in the shop, and it was a little bit noisy. I couldn't be filming, but I went ahead and got this set up in here, so you can see. But basically on this end, we got it in a 4-jaw chuck. I was able to indicate off of the original stem down there. Now bear in mind that, you know, we've got some wear on this shaft. It's probably not even perfectly round, but even then, I've got it running within about 4 thousandths, maybe 5 thousandths, which on that shaft, it's good. Bear in mind, guys, this whole job on this cane mill, you know, this thing it's an agricultural piece. It's not a precision machine. You know, we're gonna do the best job we can to keep things as precision as we can, but you know, we've got some pretty big tolerances on a lot of this stuff. Even if this thing is not running perfectly true, remember, all we're doing is we're crushing cane between here. It's not like it's a precision diameter, or if there's a little bit of run out or something like that. It's just not going to matter, and I'm not going to sit here and try to go to a bunch of trouble. I mean, I could turn this whole face off to get it running perfectly true, but there's no reason to. Now this one is serrated, and I think all they did on here is they basically just cut like a thread across it to do the serrations in there. We'll probably clean that up, but I'm not going to try to do anything true in that end up. Now on the other end, we're just going off of the centers that we had to work with, and I just cleaned them up. Again, I took a center drill and just kind of put in the end down there, and just kind of, again, just kind of trued it up. Let's see here. And I'm trying to remember, I measured this the other day and I can't remember what it came out to be, but so, you know, it looks like we got about 15 thou of run out on this end. And again, bear in mind, you know, our shaft here is not by any means a precision surface anymore to be measuring on. But, you know, if I really wanted to, we could, I don't have a steady rest for this. We could put a steady rest on here and we could get it running a little bit closer and recut that center. But again, guys, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it in this application. So we're going to go with it like it is. And just to kind of double check where we're at here, guys, I put this is serrated, this is pretty rough, but I put a foot on my indicator. It's got a really big area on here, so I'm kind of averaging over a larger area because of this serration in here. And I just want to kind of see, this is really what's more important as far as the run out is concerned, because we're going to true this end up and this end up, but you know, there's going to be some run out in here, how much, and you know, it's looking like I'm just going to call it 20 thousandths. It's probably a little bit less than that. But again, all we're doing is crushing sugar cane. 20 thousandths run out on this thing is not going to matter one bit. And if I really wanted to, I could just run a cutter over there and clean it up. And who knows, I may do that anyway, just because I can. But not a problem here at all. I think we're fine on this setup for what it is. So let's go ahead and start cutting some metal. All right, we're ready to start cutting here. Come here and touch off. I'm not sure if this is steel or cast iron. If this was cast all in one piece where there's got a steel shaft in there, we should be able to tell pretty easily when we start turning here. We'll go ahead and, I'm not going to take a real heavy cut this first pass. Let's see how those chips come off of there. Not taking a full pass, so it's taking a lot of rust off too. I'm going to hit it. CRC sent me some of this cutting oil to try out. I'm going to give it a try. It's in the aerosol can. I had never used any aerosol cutting oil before, but what the heck, we'll try it out. Tailstock got a little bit loose down here. I didn't have it tight, but anyway, I tightened it up so it took that in there a little bit. I think that's steel. All right, I'm gonna take a heavier cut this time since well, I'm not really sure where I'm at on my diameter, so I'm just gonna take a 20 thousandths cut here. I just want to get it cleaned up one time where I can get a good measurement. Once I get a good measurement, then we can see how much we need to take off. But I'm not having to take a whole lot off of these, so I'm kind of being a little bit on the cautious side. See about where we're at. Yeah, so I'm gonna do it with my micrometer, I think. All right, so we're at about 395. We're going to 375, so I got 20 more thousandths to take off. I'm just going to go ahead and dial that in. And one more pass, we should be done. It's the first time I've used this stuff. And so far so good. It's different. I've never used an aerosol cutting oil, but it seems to be doing a good job and leaving a nice finish. And it doesn't appear to be making quite as big of a mess as my more traditional cutting oil does. So we'll continue to see how it looks. This came out a little bit rough, so I'm just hitting it with some emery cloth to kind of smooth it up. I think this shaft may actually be cast iron. It's not really turning exactly like iron, but it's not really turning exactly like steel either, so. But that seemed to smooth it up a good bit. Let's see what we got now. Shooting for 375. It looks like I'm at 376. Not quite a thou over, but that's going to be close enough. I'm not going to fuss with it. I flipped the part around now, so we've got, we're going to get this other one. I've already got everything indicated again, no problem there. I did put some little brass shims up underneath these here just so I don't mar up that nice surface that we got on that one. So we should be ready to go. Same thing here before. If I remember, this one's a little bit tapered. Thicker on the back side back here, so I'm just going to come out, make about a 20 thousandths cut, see where it's going to start coming in at. About right there. Oops. I'm going to turn this all the way up into that shoulder on this side, I believe. All right. That one's kind of fuzzy too. Go ahead and hit it with some emery cloth, clean it up. May be just a half a thou under there, but that's going to be plenty close enough. I am noticing here that we've got a couple places on the shaft that didn't totally clean up, but you know what? It's not going to matter. With this being Babbitt bearings, shouldn't be a problem at all. So anyway, I'm happy with that. Debating on whether I try to hit that surface or not. I just want to leave as much as that serration in there. I really don't think that little bit of vibration in there is going to hurt a thing, so we're just going to leave it like it is. I've got both of the rollers turned now. The next thing I want to do is again, because of the amount of room we've got on those shafts over there, I'm going to actually turn a shaft here that same diameter that we will use as a mandrel to actually pour the Babbitt on, just because I'm not going to have room to use the shaft there. So I've just got a piece of mystery steel in here. We got a keyway down here that's not going to be my way because I'm only going to be pouring on half of it, so I can come off the back side of that with no problem. So I'm going to face this, put a center in it, and I'm going to slide it out a little bit more, and then we're going to turn that down to size. And I just want to get a nice faced off front here. I'm gonna come in here and we'll put a center in. Should do. now I'm going to do is just extend this on out the chuck a little bit more so I can turn a little bit farther back on there. Bring my center into play. Tighten that down. Very good. Now we can turn this on out to 2 3/8. 2.375. I think we're about 2 5/8 right now. Try to get a measurement before I pull that out, just to see where I'm at. We may actually stop right here. I was thinking about it. Usually when I do a pouring mandrel, I like for that mandrel to be a couple of thousandths oversized. 2 or 3 thou would be perfect. So, and we're about 3.5. So you know what? I think we're just going to call that good. So let me bring you guys up to speed where we're at. We're getting ready for our Babbitt pour, and I basically have this set up now. So again, this is the mandrel. It is turned down to the same diameter as the spindles that we're going to be matching these bearings to. It's about 3 thousandths over, 2.5, 3 thousandths, somewhere along in there. These are the 2 bearing shells down here. I've got them set up in here, properly positioned on the shaft. I got the shaft just kind of sitting up on some blocks. I got these up underneath them. I got some shims where needed because there's some tapers and some things going on. This material here is called Babbitt. It's a damping material. So this stuff is supposed to be able to take the heat, but also basically it's moldable, kind of like Play-Doh. And the idea here is that you build a dam so that the Babbitt doesn't run out. There's a gap all around that thing, all around these shells, and I need the Babbitt to stay in there. So this material here should hold everything in place and dam up the ends where we can get everything to go. So I've got my Babbitt melting over here. Let me talk a little bit about that. The Babbitt that we're using today is a tin-based Babbitt. This is I've already got it melted down here. It's just up on a little camp stove. But Babbitt comes in a couple of different forms. There's a lead-based, which is fairly inexpensive. This tin-based has a lot more tin in it than lead. It still has a lead. It's an alloy. I don't remember exactly what all is in here, but it's basically a soft material. But the tin-based Babbitts will hold up longer. They're better suited for some applications, and I felt like this one here would be better suited for tin. So we purchased some of this. I just ordered it from McMaster-Carr for my client that was wanting this job done. Anyway, we got it for him. But it's melting down. You want to get it basically to a temperature that when you put a pine stick in there, it chars it. So we're at temperature. I will skim this before we pour it one last time. But before we do that, we need to get our parts over here preheated and ready for the pour. Now what I want to do is come in here. I got a rosebud torch going, and I want to put some heat in all this before we pour metal in here. I like for this to get up to around 300, 350 degrees. And I've got an infrared thermometer over here that we'll measure that with. So let me get some heat in here, and we'll be ready to pour. I'm concentrating my heat on the shaft because that's where the biggest sink is. The heat's going around that shaft and heating that shell up. It's fairly thin. about 230 degrees. Yeah, we're good. I'm putting on a face shield now just in case anything splashes. I have on long sleeve shirt, and we are ready for the pour. I'm going to skim this over just one more quick time, kind of rake it to the back, and let's go ahead and pour here. All right, that side is done. And I'm not going to have enough Babbitt to do both sides. All right, I got enough. I just need to melt some more. We'll probably do that other one off camera here in just a minute. I don't like to do a cold pour on here, so I will take that, let this cool down. I'll take it out. We'll melt that out and we'll re-pour it. The first one looks like it came out real nice. We'll let it cool for a few minutes before we try to take it apart. All right, this is still hot, but it's cooled down enough for us to take it apart, check this pour out, see how it went. Let's see if we get this Babbitt right over here. You can reuse this Babbitt right over and over again. There we go. That one there is an acceptable pour. We will do some scraping and stuff to get it just right, but that one's good. We'll have to melt that one out, and we'll do this. I will probably do this one off camera, and then we'll set up to do the other ones here in a few minutes. So let me get this one re-poured, and we'll be back in a bit. So for these bottom caps, again, it's only pouring half a shell, but it's down in this little well. So I had to get kind of ingenious here and kind of invent something to pour this. So basically, I welded a rod onto the side of my mandrel, and that is set at a certain height so that it's not actually going all the way down the bottom. There's a little gap down the bottom because I want some Babbitt to kind of pour up underneath that bottom. And then on the back side where I don't have anything in there, what I did was I just took some of the Babbitt right and I rolled out a thin sheet, just like a baker would roll out something. I used a piece of round metal, I rolled it out, and I've got that in there just kind of as a filler space. And now I should be able to heat all this stuff up, pour my Babbitt in here, and I'll have a half a shell down there on the bottom, just like I want, and I have to do this twice. So let me go ahead and get my Babbitt warming up over here, and we should be ready to pour this in just a few minutes. All right, guys, we're putting some more heat in here. I about got this up to temperature. Was just measuring a few minutes ago. We should be right there at where we need to pour. So I'm going to just go ahead and do it. I'm all suited up over here again. I got on leather gloves. I got long sleeve shirts and face shield on. I've already skimmed my Babbitt. We're just going to come over here, pour it right down in that hole. There we go. Let that cool down. All right, let's see if it'll come on out now. I'm going to just slide it over here, kind of off the edge, and we'll take a hammer. There we go. I'll let that cool down, but I can already tell that's an excellent pour. Looks good in there. All right, I'm going to get the other one set up, and we'll do that one off camera, and I think we'll have this one done. I think we got this job done. Babbitt pads are poured and all 4 of these bearing housings. I need to come in here and just kind of clean them up a little bit. I'll just take a file or something and just smooth all these off, have them look a little bit better. And then I need to scratch some oil grooves in here, but that's no big deal. We can do that pretty quickly. They came out real nice. You can see these here. Of course, you just got them in the bottom half, and you got it in the bottom as well. And that one goes there. That one goes there. And same thing back here. That one goes there. And, whoops. That one goes there. There we go. So, job finished. And there we go. One job finished. Got these bearings all ready to go. I'll get back with my customer on this and let them know we got it finished up. I've actually still got to do the big wheel, and I'm gonna do that one off camera. It's basically just the same process, except on it only has 2 half liners. It doesn't have one of these that fits down in a hole. But I would have done that one today as well, but that particular roller, that larger roller, is too big to fit in my lathe here, and I'm gonna have to go out and use the lathe at the museum to get the journals turned down. And it's the same process, so I'll probably just do that one off camera. But job done, pretty much, at least on these two, and we'll get the other one knocked out real quick, and this guy will be back in the cane grinding business very soon. So with that, that'll be a wrap. Thanks for watching as always, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you like what you see. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.